Hey, welcome home. Did you enjoy the pool? She moved out of the way to let you all inside. Derek hesitated before bringing up the rear. It was hard to ignore that he was shyly scratching his cheek and keeping his head down now that you were inside. It was great, I'd say, right, guys? It was. Yeah, good.
That's what I
I'm
like
glad
to
to hear
hear.
that. Mr. Suarez gleefully made his way over when he realized your group was back. His eyebrow arched and you could feel his mischief coming.
That's
At
good.
least someone didn't jump in while fully dressed, right? They were well behaved this time. You laughed with him. Tipping your head back, a tear ran down your cheek. You couldn't believe that he even remembered that. No, but maybe next time. Nicholas flashed you a mischievous grin, and you had a good idea what he was thinking. You teasingly swatted at him. Not today. The next few hours passed by at a more leisurely pace. Together, progress was made on a 1,000-piece puzzle. At one point, Derek plucked one of the puzzle from the I have no idea where this goes pile and tossed it at Nicholas to catch his attention. Without taking his eye off the puzzle, Derek wondered out loud if he could take the switch over to his place for the night. He had played it as if it was no big deal in the hopes that Nicole would feel less pressure. Nicholas let out a deep sigh, but got up anyway. Just as Derek had always struggled to say no to him, Nicholas equally couldn't deny his big brother's request. He returned a few minutes later holding the console with a tangled power cord and a couple controllers piled on top. I'm guessing you wanted two controllers. That was exactly right. He knew Derek wasn't getting it for himself alone, but in order to experience it with you. Looks like Derek never needed to buy an extra controller himself. Wow, thanks.
Aww.
Nicholas's gaze narrowed as he pulled everything closer to his chest. But before I hand this over, could we play a few rounds with the family? His eyes went wide and pleading. Instead of answering, Derek turned to you, his head tilted as he silently asked for your opinion. You nodded.
What do
We'd be
you think?
staying here a while longer then. That's fine with me. Cool. He shifted back to his little brother, game face on. I hope you're ready to lose, Nico. That's cute. Don't prepare your victory speech just yet, bro. George, you're in too.
Come on.
It's not a choice. The tiny piece of cardboard in George's hand dropped onto the kitchen counter at the unexpected enlistment. He blinked but then smiled. Fine. Yeah. The Suarez family gathered around the TV and the brothers got the console set up. With a new battle sparked between the Suarez boys, you and Liz decided to give your moms a quick call. They were tickled to find out what happened with Liz's surprise trip. Between the four of you, it was decided that Liz would go down to Sunset Berg to see them in person soon, and that you would stay in the city. Your trip was with the Suarez family, and there was the visit later in the summer that would center around your mom's completely. After the call ended and you placed your phone back in your pocket, you had a new thought. Huh,
What?
What's that about? When are you leaving? I know you're here now, but you never told me for how long. Oh, I'm out of here tomorrow, technically. This is very short trip. I say technically because my flight's at 11:55 p.m. Can you believe it? Sheesh, talk about a major inconvenience, but beggars can't be choosers. Derek, the brothers were observed in Gameland when Liz nearly shouted that last part over her shoulder. It was loud and pointed enough that there was no way they could miss her teasing. Derek watched you, Madison's siblings, over his shoulder. His cocky grin fell to a frown. Yeah, that's true. You're leaving tomorrow night. Both of you are. Derek tried to muster up another smile, but it was weak in comparison. He seemed smaller all of a sudden, squished in the center of the couch with a brother on each side. Then he shrugged.
This sucks.
Things were starting to feel normal having you here, just in time for you to not be here anymore. Nicholas's chin lifted at his brother's crestfallen tone. His gaze bounced back and forth between you and Derek, but you found his expression to be difficult to read. George, meanwhile, gave his big brother an understanding pat on the back when he caught your attention. He nodded encouragingly. Without a doubt, you knew that you could rely on his family to be there to support him alongside you and to bring him cheer during the days you were gone. You were thankful for them.
Sorry.
Well, I hit a nerve. Sorry. Nah, let's forget about that. It's not tomorrow yet. You agreed. Flip those frowns upside down. We still have plenty of daylight to burn. The game had been paused ever since Derek stopped watching the screen, but the screen had as strong of an impact on Nicholas as it had on his favorite person. His brows furrowed tensely. That settles it. Nico breathed in deep through his nose, gathering his nerves, and pushed himself off his seat. He walked with purpose away from his family and towards your sister. Hi, could you give us some privacy? Us youngest siblings need to talk. Liz's lips twitched, possibly with a bite of disagreement or question, or even a snarky quip, but surprisingly she kept in it. Okay? Go easy on her. You might be their cherished little one, but Faye is mine. Yeah, sure, I hear you. He nonchalantly waved her off, and Liz gave you one last brief glance before yielding. Once she was gone, it was just you and Nicholas in the corner of the room. Actually, could we talk outside? Alright? His behavior so far had you stunned, but you followed him outside anyway. No one tried to follow, though you could feel every eye on your backs as you and Nicholas left. Standing in the street, Nico silently examined you with a half-opened eyes. Your mouth twisted awkwardly as you looked around. There was always a chance that Nicholas could surprise you, but you had a good guess about what the conversation would be about. Should I be worried you brought me somewhere without any witnesses? Nicholas's cheeks puffed out in something like a pout, but he exhaled loudly instead.
It's not
George
fair.
was right. He and Derek are somehow always right. They got all the being correct genes and none were left for me. But forget that. I'm not gonna throw a tantrum. There was a comment you could have made, but the words on your tongue vanished. The meekly earnest way Nicholas carried himself got you to hesitate. There's something I want you to know, so just listen. Do you remember the night you took Derek to some party thing at the club your family goes to? He said to simply listen and then went straight into wanting answer. Nico was trying, though. I still remember. That night was one of your fondest summer memories, though you didn't have a clue what Nicholas had to tell you about that party now. This might be wild to you, but believe it or not, that night left an impression on me too. I was so upset that Derek bailed on the movie. We had to go without him, and then Mom and Dad wouldn't even let me stay up to see him get back. They tried every trick in their book to get me to go to sleep, but nothing worked. I just wanted him home. And they never did get me to go to sleep. I blinked myself out of accident. I burned up whatever energy I still had that late by getting so upset. Nicholas chuckled at the memory, rubbing the back of his neck. His eyes remained wistfully glazed for another moment. I couldn't understand why he wanted to go away all by himself. That didn't make any sense. Me, him, and George, but at the age we know, I really meant me and Derek should stay together, but that's when life was the best, right? Silently nodding along, that detail didn't surprise you, but it also didn't stop the guilty feeling growing in your gut. You knew his 6-year-old self well, and the last thing you ever wanted was to hurt him. At some point, I did wake up and I rushed out to see Derek, my big brother, my best friend, and he hung out with me, exactly like I knew he would. I think Mom and Dad must have gone back to their own room because I remember Derek being the one to put me in bed. He promised to tell me all about what happened. It was great. A slight smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. Nicholas gradually met your gaze and then he crossed his arms. When he tucked me in, I was so happy that Derek was there and talking about the cool things he had. At the time, they were the biggest and most important adventures. I fell asleep perfectly content, but when I woke up the next day, I was sad all over again. It took a minute for my baby brain to realize that almost none of the story was about the fancy party or how he was the only one of us who got to go. It was about doing something with you. Your heartbeat was louder in your ears. You inconspicuously wiped your sweaty palms on the side of your thighs.
I don't know.
I couldn't even explain that to anybody, including Derek. I didn't have the words. All anyone knew was that poor little Nico was feeling down. Don't worry, I get it better now. Perspective and maturity and whatever. He glanced at the condo, and your chest ached. You had a good feeling that he was searching for Derek. He really liked you. That's what I realized, and that's what made me sad. Derek's face when he looks at you now is the same as it was 10 years ago when I wrapped up in my blankie and he was dressed in his fancy clothes just talking about you. But it doesn't make me sad anymore. Nicholas's lingering melancholy melted into a warm laugh. And basically,
he
Derek
really likes
really
you.
likes you. That's the point. A smile brightened your features. It was wonderful for Nico to share what he could see with his own two eyes, and even more amazing to know with certainty that it was the truth. The moment of levity didn't last. His brow pinched, and he stared you down in a long pause. Nico wanted to address your relationship with his brother. It was the only thing that got him so serious. Your nerves have had goosebumps breaking out all over your skin. Just when you thought you'd crack from the suspense, Nicholas smirked and tossed his arms out to the wind. Well, Faye, at the end of the day, I'm gonna support Derek all the way. I bet you knew that, but to make sure, don't go dumping him for my sake. His honest and mature answer was such a relief it nearly knocked you off your feet. Nicholas shrugged and continued his thought. Seriously, it's a good thing, and you adults have your own problems to deal with. You don't need me adding to it.
Thank
So,
you.
congratulations. Thanks for hearing me out. I can't explain enough how much that means to me. It had been obvious since the day you met Derek that he was dedicated to his family. You'd witnessed firsthand how seriously he took his role as the oldest brother. They were irreplaceable. Nicholas accepting your role in Derek's life was special, both because of what he meant to Derek and because of how much you'd come to value him over the years. Your lips wobbled with emotion. What are you? Me when I was 6. Ouch. I'm just trying to be sincere here, and I get sassed instead. Get used to it. Nicholas teasingly flipped his long hair, his laughter soft and affectionate. Nicholas ruffled a hand through his hair in a manner much the same as Derek did. There was no surprise there. It also wasn't much of a shock that you and your family, of sorts, managed to clear the air between you. There was more than a mutual affection for Derek. You cared for each other too. You returned to the condo together with matching conspiracial smiles. By the way, the room hushed as you walked through the door. You knew that not a single soul was minding their own businesses. And despite everyone's best attempts at pretending to be busy, it was obvious that Liz and the Suarez family were all equally curious about what happened outside. Everything okay over there? Should I be concerned? We're fine. Nicholas had cupped a hand next to his mouth to yell at your sister as his brain caught up to his actions. He leaned towards you with a raised brow. We're all good, right? We're two peas in a pod. He rejoined his brothers, and you went back to Liz. After that talk, you felt a million times better about where you stood. Welcome back. I see you're still in one piece. Yeah, I'm even more whole. Aw, cute. Nicholas lifted his chin and flashed his siblings a determined grin. He cracked his knuckles.
Okay.
Okay, that's enough with the seriousness. Let's race. Yes, let's race. Alright. Liz's brows raised as she watched the bizarre exchange. You slapped fingers over your mouth to muffle your laughter at first, but couldn't leave your sister hanging, so you gently caught her attention by pushing her arm. They're still talking about video games, a car game. Oh, that makes sense. She combed some stray strands of her hair behind her ear and watched the chaos comments. Well, there's no reason we should sit out now. Our jobs are done. The family, you and Liz included, ended up cramped shoulder to shoulder on the couches. Liz announced her intention of beating the brothers in a game she'd never played. Her enthusiasm for the gold win was as powerful as ever. You hoped the condo would survive the competition. You preferred to watch the races. Seeing the battle unfold was probably your favorite part, so you relaxed into the back couch cushion and got cozy. You had wonderfully clear view of the TV. Since there were only so many controllers, it was decided that everyone would take turns, starting from the youngest to oldest. Nicholas faked humility as he accepted his position as first. The races began, and the room bounced with wild cheers and shouts. Even Mrs. Suarez jumped in line for a race. She was a welcome addition to the event. Mr. Suarez, on the other hand, had a history of gaming offense. He was watched like a hawk by the other participants to make sure that he didn't pull any funny businesses. But it was to no avail. Just before the top three were dedicated, the race was intensely neck and neck. Mr. Suarez managed to bump George from behind with his foot and destabilize his son's driving. Not one person actually saw him do it in the heat of the moment, but there was no debate on who the kicker was, no matter how much Mr. Suarez pleaded his innocence. The fact that his insistence was threaded with laughter didn't help his case. The rest of the rounds went off with less chatting, though weren't any less memorable. Eventually, enough of the day passed that Liz rose to her feet. It's getting late. My ride back to Sunset Bird should be coming soon. I'm gonna give my legs a chance to stretch and wait outside. She flashed you a weak smile and then double-checked that she had all of her things together. Thanks for having me. Bye, everyone. Before she could make her exit, Derek sprung up as well. Wait,
Okay.
Faye and I should get going too. You don't have to leave by yourself. What a gentleman. At that, Nicholas and George finally stopped what they were doing to turn to their big brother. Both of them wore identical frowns. Derek glanced away from Liz towards the growing audience. Sorry, we'll see you again tomorrow. He sheepishly scratched the back of his neck, while his brothers continued to stare pitiably. Hey, I've got an idea. Why don't you come over to my place for a change? Mom and Dad are welcome, obviously. You too, Liz. Let's do it tomorrow. That idea was met by surprise, but the room shifted positively. Getting to Derek's place was more unanimously agreed on than even Mr. Suarez being a big cheater. A new plan made. The group said goodbye for now. You and Derek accompanied Liz out. So halfway, Derek paused and remembered to barrel back inside. He almost forgot to take the console home with him. Again, perfect timing or not, Derek wasn't letting it slip through his fingers. He returned in record time, as if he'd joined an actual race. Together, you hung outside with Liz until she was safely on her way home. It was still mind-blowing that you didn't have to center your life around a bus or a shuttle schedule anymore. By the time Liz's ride was out of sight, the sun was hanging low in the sky. It would be dark soon. You hopped into Derek's car and flopped into the front seat. You were ready to settle down for the day. Derek carefully stored the console, cords, and 2 controllers in the back seat before taking his spot behind the wheel. As soon as Derek pulled the door shut, he slapped his fingers on the steering wheel. Whew, I've been waiting forever to try that new game.
You know it.
Well, it's not that new. It's already a few years old, but you know what I'm saying. You're adorable. There was no stopping your tiny smile. It's so cute when you're excited. He lighted up. Huh. He hung onto the steering wheel for dear life.
I see how
Alright,
it is.
I'll take your word for it. But from where I'm sitting, there's definitely someone cuter. Derek eagerly turned the key and the engine roared to life. Within seconds, you were cruising down the road again. Thanks for helping Liz come to see me. Hey, don't worry about that. No, seriously. I mean every bit of this. Thank you. You went the extra mile, even by your normal standards of doing things for people. That's a huge deal. He peeked at you, and his flushed skin reddened even more. Derek glued his eyes on the road once more. You're welcome, Faye. Believe me, it was all worth the trouble. The rest of the ride passed by in a comfortable silence, and soon enough you were standing at his apartment door. Derek pushed it open and motioned for you to go in first. Carrying the console and its various wires under his arm, Derek trailed behind you. He casually gestured towards the living room.
I got you.
Take it easy and relax. I'll get this bad boy set up. No, how can I help? You didn't move an inch. Amused, Derek's gaze moved between you and the console. You can plug the controllers in, but you don't have to. I know, I don't need to. I still wanna.
I swear.
Okay, you're already winning, and we haven't started. I'll get it hooked up to the TV, and you're on controller duty. Eagerly, you nodded and got to work. Once the console was ready, Derek declared something was missing. Luckily, it wasn't one of the cords. That was covered. I'm gonna put my pajamas on. We can't have a late night game session in regular clothes. Oh yeah, I'll change too. Awesome. Let's regroup in 5. With a deadline set, you both scrambled down the hall and into your own rooms. A few minutes later, you returned to about the same spot where you'd come in, but clad in much cozier outfits.
Nice work.
That's gonna be a record. Now we're set. Derek retrieved the game you got at the mall. The case had been waiting patiently on the coffee table for quite a while.
So?
There's versus and team modes with this party game. What are you in the mood for? I think we should switch between modes. Let's start on a team together. Derek chuckled and scratched the side of his cheek. He leaned towards you, oozing with mischief. I can never complain about being on Team Madison. I know that. I don't mind Team Suarez myself. You threw up a high five that Derek enthusiastically met with a loud slap. He picked up a controller and shot you a wink. Derek put the game in and hovered by the console until he was satisfied that things were booting up correctly. He then relocated to the couch across from the TV and plopped down in the center. You went to sit on the same couch. Shifting and squirming, you repositioned yourself until the cushions and your body aligned into the most comfortable position. Derek chuckled, and you caught him trying to hide it after the fact. Hi, Faith. Hey. You were close enough that your leg brushed against his while you got comfortable. Even after putting a few inches between you two both, your shoulders occasionally bumped. Derek's welcoming smile brought warmth to you. Or maybe it was your hyper-awareness of his body heat radiating through your side. Either way, it was getting hotter. And on that note, your digital adventure began. Hours rapidly went by from there. You were getting by just fine. Sometimes you got stuck, but there wasn't anything you two couldn't eventually solve. You had to rely on each other. Derek was no expert himself. Luckily, your abilities complemented his faults, and vice versa. Your throat was sore from the highs of making each other laugh, and from the lows of shouting out the frustration at the TV. The game was still in full swing when suddenly Derek spoke up, not for further commentary on your digital movies, but for real-life considerations. Did you want any snacks? Out of habit, you glanced in his direction. He had his sight locked on the TV screen, and even still, I can't keep putting my stomach off. Could you hold down the fort while I'm gone? Before you could even answer, Derek was already out of his seat and dashing towards the kitchen. I'm on it.
It's no
I can bring
problem.
something for you too. I'll have whatever you're having. Cool. I'll grab enough for both of us. From the repeated clatter of cupboard doors, you knew he was checking every cabinet for the best treats. Your stomach began rumbling in anticipation. Derek returned, and his arms were filled with all kinds of goodies you picked up on your grocery trip, and a couple you hadn't seen before. They must have been tucked away for a special occasion before you'd arrived. He carefully placed 2 water bottles down and then bumped the rest onto the coffee table.
All right.
Behold, Derek flopped back down onto the couch and did a double take at the table. You'd already managed to swipe a handful of things. You were eager to get started again. Derek decided to sort through the settings and switch the game mode to the one you hadn't tried yet. You picked the controller up and waited. Derek was contentedly munching away, and you didn't want to start without him. Ready to jump back in?
You've got it.
You know it. The TV's change in brightness as the game resumed from the dimmed pause menu was noticeable. Squinting, you listened to the familiar music flowing through the speakers until your eyes adjusted. So it wasn't long before the game managed to suck you in once again. As the game accelerated into its most important moments, neither you nor Derek could be contained by your own seats. You kept pushing and pressing into each other on the couch. The night slipped by joyously. At one point, you took turns watching the other work through the same single-player content. Despite Derek's usual position as the responsible one, you unknowingly stayed up gaming late into the night. Gradually, your eyelids drooped. Your laughter was replaced by yawns, and your voices grew softer until they were whispers floating slowly into cotton-filled ears. The last thing you heard was the melody of the game music still playing, but sounding far away. You returned to awareness slowly. Your eyes were still heavy, and you rubbed them. Crushed into a cushion, you were exactly where you'd started your virtual exploits last night, on an off-white couch with Derek. You and him were nearly nose to nose, limbs tucked around one another in a cuddly embrace.
Morning.
Morning, Faye. He sounded awfully cheery. There was far more life in it than anyone who had just been unconscious moments before would have. He'd already been awake, you bet. But you were content to be snuggled up with Derek. You let out a blissful sigh, and Derek still made no move to get up. Relaxation was being in your partner's arms. You were in agreement on that point and could enjoy this for a little longer. Derek let out a low chuckle, his chest rumbling. Sorry about the less than ideal location. I didn't want to risk waking you up by moving you to bed. No, don't apologize. I appreciate it. I was so tired last night. That's what I needed. Oh, perfect. Derek smoothly pulled his arms around you tighter, embracing you deliberately. It was totally a move. In the back of your brain, you were amazed this was actually happening. Sometimes it felt as if you and Derek were destined to be apart. The way he held you with no plans of stopping eased those worries for good. Derek was incredibly warm in personality and as a pillow, and in that position you caught a similarly warming fragrances that clung to his skin. He was not one for intentionally perfuming himself, but the gentle, nutty scent about him had you guessing that Derek used shea butter lotion. You know, having a sleepover in the living room as grown-ups definitely has one perk overdoing it as kids. Said perk was interrupted by the sound of ringing phone. Derek's eye widened in an instant, and he shifted to reach his phone on the coffee table. He checked the caller ID, and a disbelieving smirk across his face. His voice was a whisper.
Are you
No way.
serious?
You couldn't guess whose mere call would get that reaction. He slid his fingers across the screen and tapped the speaker button. Casually, he leaned back into the couch and stretched out an arm. From the fond twist of his lips, you knew this at least had to be someone close to him. Hey, Nico.
Hey.
Morning, bro. Good morning. Faye, you're actually the one I wanted to speak to. I just called Derek so I wouldn't bother you if you were still sleeping. Oh, and I don't need my sleep? Dude, you're the most morning person to have ever early rose. Nicholas Juarez really did not know Cove Holden. That was one competition Cove took the gold in every time. You get up so early, a night owl could give you a high five on their way to bed. You'll hit the gym before. The sudden stand-up routine broadcast into Derek's living room was cut off prematurely. Nico definitely couldn't keep going. Okay, we heard you the first time. Hey, you asked for it. Derek pointed a judgmental finger towards the phone. The only thing he said was quietly to you. This kid. He lifted his voice up to not let the conversation drag.
What's up?
So, what's up? What do you think? Faye is leaving soon, isn't she? So, when will you come over to see me? Now? Soon? Derek theatrically rolled his eyes inwardly, laughing at Nicholas's eagerness. We've got to talk about it, and I mean me and Faye, not me and you. Faye is here already. Sorry, Nico. You're gonna have to share. We'll sort it out and I'll let you know.
Fine.
Alright, see you later. Yeah, I promise. Take care. Bye, Faye. Derek pressed the red button on his phone's screen and ended the call. Nico's gesture really was sweet. It might have been years since you last babysat him, but you still held a special attachment for him that you didn't for any other teen. Derek let out another long sigh. Still holding the phone in the air, he looked up at the device as if it was a magic wand.
Oh,
I should have
man.
figured. Derek, what were you gonna say before he called? Derek shook his head with a wry expression. I was about to say that with my own place, we didn't have to worry about little brothers interrupting our peaceful morning together. Technology was proving me wrong. You snorted. Nicholas didn't ever need to call a psychic. The timing was prophetic. Speak of the devil, right? He must have called as soon as he dragged himself out of bed. Typical Nickel. He shrugged a single shoulder and then reached down to place his phone on the table again.
It's
We
no
can
problem.
still take it easy, though. You should take it easy. You should take it as easy as possible before a stressful trip. He nuzzled his cheek into yours. You could feel his breath tickle your skin. I'm gonna take a shower and everything. Then we should have breakfast. That sounds good. I'll get ready too. Cool. Take as long as you need. You shrugged. In all probability, the two of you would finish up dressing within a few minutes of each other given the previous mornings. Derek lifted you up with him as he shifted into a sitting position he could get out from under another person with ease. The gym had done him well. He smooched your cheek, still keeping you elevated, before gently putting you back on the cushion with one more tight squeeze. The whole experience made you giddy.
Talk
See you
to you
soon.
later.
With that, you headed off to the back of the apartment. You skipped to your room to begin your normal morning routine after a particularly not normal start of the day. Derek's insistence on playing in pajamas had certainly worked out in ways you hadn't foreseen. Maybe he'd had an inkling of it. With two game-loving brothers, it was possible he had practiced dozing off on the controller before. While changing your wrinkled clothes, your phone buzzed with a text from your sister. Liz was giving you the heads up that she was gonna pop in to see some friend in the afternoon while she had the chance, but she'd be there to see you off before the end of the day. You typed a quick message letting her know that was cool and sent it. When you finished your morning ritual, you returned out to the main area of the apartment. Finished with his own daily prep, Derek had made his way back onto the couch. He couldn't stay away for long. Welcome back. Thank you. Hunger had become a third wheel to your party by that point, and you got to work to send it on its way. You and Derek threw something together and had a relaxed meal. It was all good. The two of you could pretend that this wasn't the last time you'd be waking up together for who knew how long. Oh, Liz texted while you were gone. She's gonna see us after she does some friend stuff. It'll be the evening, probably. He nodded along, not looking shocked. Liz grew up in the area too. She had plenty of roots to water in that land.
Anyway,
Speaking of people to see, my family's coming over here today, and so is Liz. But we've gotta ask your moms and dad still. They're gonna wanna say bye, I bet. Thanks for letting them visit. I'll text them. Of course. It's gonna be so cool to open my place to the grown-ups after being their guest a million times. And I love having you here with me. It's like we're living together for real permanently, as if you weren't just a guest.
that's a
Too
bummer.
bad it's gonna end. All morning, He'd appeared giddy, excited by your presence. That light still shone through, but averting your eyes from reality wasn't a foolproof strategy. He'd accidentally broken the illusion. He pressed his lips together tight, and his brows pulled intensely. Today's gonna be big. It's the last chance. We should do something you couldn't do anywhere else. You braced yourself for the coming conclusion and then smiled. You have the best ideas. Yes, let's do it. Now, how to end this trip on a bang. Wait. He pumped his fist in triumph at his sudden inspiration. You know what we could do? Derek left you no space to guess and blurted out exactly what he was thinking. Go to the boardwalk. The volume of his explanation got louder as his excitement grew. Sure, it's even further away than the water park, and we'd probably have to leave after only an hour, but we could make it, and then we'll have at least been there. No one could stop us, and we don't need anyone's permission. Do you want to go? His pure eyes shone with hopes and dreams. That's perfect. What a great way to spend your last day. Yes,
Let's get to
let's
it.
do it. He was halfway to jumping to his feet before he realized where he was. Oh, as soon as we finished our food, obviously. That did not seem obvious to Derek until a second ago. Yeah, we'll need energy. Very
Right.
true. We both finished every bite of your breakfast, although you could tell that Derek was rushing. You placed your dishes in the sink before Derek's. Just leave them, I'll wash them later. You didn't comment on the slightly out of character action and instead started putting together what you needed for the trip. After you had packed up some supplies, you headed out to the car. During the drive, Derek's brain was in sharp focus. We should make sure everyone knows that the get-together will be for dinner, a late-ish dinner.
I
I'll
got you.
leave it to you if you want to tell the gang about our own plans for the day or keep it a secret. I don't know if you want to deal with everyone asking why they weren't invited, but they are a lot more grown-ups than they used to be. Sometimes I forget that. I'll just tell them. I getcha. And you know, you're a very honest person.